Welcome back, ladies and gentle wizards. Today we are going to be going over how to build an ideal kit for wizard PvP. Keep in mind that there are multiple ways to play wizard, but we are going to be focusing on my favorite playstyle, which is the pure caster wizard. Before I get into any specific gear items, we need to understand which stats are important on wizard, what values we desire them to be at, and then finally, what gear we can buy on the market that will get us to those values. Also, before we dive in, it would be smart to check out the stats page of the Dark and Darker wiki, which breaks down in detail with charts and formulas how each stat affects your character. I've included a link to it in the description. The stats in this game can be confusing and redundant sometimes, but I'll do my best to help you wade through it and keep you focused on the ones that really matter to us. For solo casting wizard, pretty much every main stat other than resourcefulness and strength is important in some kind of way. Resourcefulness isn't totally worthless in PvP because it can speed up interaction time with doors and slightly lowers cooldown times on skills, which can be helpful. And strength can be important for a staff mastery bonk build since your physical power bonus will come heavily into play, but we aren't going to be covering bonk builds in this video. So it has some value like resourcefulness, but simply doesn't have the same magnitude of effect for us that the other stats have. Let's look at our first critical stat to build, which is Vigor and HP. Everyone's HP is obviously important, but building it on Wizard is especially crucial because we start out with very low base HP compared to most other classes. You can build your HP with Vigor gear, or gear with flat added max HP or max HP bonus. Your max health is calculated using this formula, where Vigor has 3 times as much weight as Strength does, which is why we build Vigor instead of Strength. Without going too deep, since as Wizard our sum is always going to be between 10 and 50, each point of Vigor that we build is going to add about 1.5 HP. On a very good kit, we want to have about 120 max HP, if not more. These gear items available to us have built-in Vigor. However, because of harsh move speed penalties, I almost never recommend heavy leather leggings or regal gambesons for wizard. We'll talk about move speed in detail shortly. These gear items available to us have built-in flat added HP. And most gear items can have Vigor, flat added HP, or % max HP bonus as a random roll. My personal go-to picks for adding HP are a leather cap, vigilant cloak, and then Vigor and HP rolls on my other gear. Our next stat is agility and move speed. The primary effect of building agility is increasing your move speed, but it also increases your action speed slightly, which I'll cover in a little bit. Move speed is especially important for solo wizards because we need to be able to outrun most of our enemies, so we can maintain proper distance from them, which is close enough to hit them with spells, but not so close that they can hit us with their melee attacks. This technique is referred to as kiting and is the foundation of all good wizard PvP. Each point of agility increases your move speed by 0.75. On a very good kit, we want to have 305 move speed or more with our hands out. These gear items available to us have built-in agility. And most gear items can have it as a randomly rolled stat. Shoes are the only items that can roll additional move speed and move speed bonus percentage, and all shoes have built-in additional move speed as well as a static roll. My go-to gear picks for adding move speed are lace turn shoes, low boots with move speed rolls, rings of quickness, loose trousers, adventure cloaks, and then agility rolls on my other gear pieces. Next up is dexterity and action speed. The only real effect of dexterity is that it increases your action speed, which is how quickly you can perform actions with your body. This includes how fast you sit down and stand up from resting, how quickly you equip critical items like weapons and heals, and most importantly, how quickly spells are released from your hand after charging up. Many players don't know that the spell casting speed stat in the game only refers to how quickly spells are charged up. Action speed is what determines how quickly they are casted after you release your mouse button. Building action speed puts you on a significantly more even playing field in a jiggle peek battle against players with bows, which shoot instantly. You'll also notice that with higher action speed, it's much easier to land your spells consistently since they shoot more closely in time with when you want them to. While there is a slight effect from agility as well, for the most part, 1 dexterity will increase your action speed by 1 or 1.5% each, depending on how much you've already built. On a very good kit, we go for at least 8% action speed. These gear items available to us have built-in dexterity. My go-to picks for increasing my action speed are rings of finesse, leather gloves, and then dexterity or action speed rolls on my other gear. Next, we're going to talk about will, which primarily affects your magic power bonus and magic resistance. Magic power bonus increases the magical damage of your spells, as well as magic melee damage from staff mastery and the crystal sword, so its value is obvious. Magic resistance directly corresponds to magical damage reduction, which reduces your magical damage you take from attacks, so it also has very significant value. Each point of will gives between 1 and 2.5% magic power bonus, and then 1 or 1.25% magical damage reduction depending on where you're at on the stat curves. On a very good kit, we want to shoot for 25% magical damage reduction. How much magic power bonus we go for depends on how much true or additional magic damage we have, so I'll talk about that when we cover those stats later. These gear items available to us have built-in will. These gear items available to us have built-in magic power. And then these gear items have built-in magic resistance. My go-to picks for increasing my will and or magic power are the wizard hat, occultist boots, leather gloves, splendid cloak, and then of course be on the lookout for magical damage and magical power random rolls on your other gear. And now, we're going to talk about my favorite stat, knowledge and cast speed. As a wizard, knowledge increases the charge up speed, known as the cast speed, of our spells, increases our memory capacity, which allows us to equip all the expensive spells we want, and speeds up how quickly we regenerate our spells from resting, meditating, campfiring, and clarity potions. All of these things are helpful, but the cast speed is what we are most interested in because it allows us to cast more damaging spells over a shorter period of time and to use survivability spells quickly enough to save us from melee enemies and allow us to create necessary space. Each point of knowledge increases your memory capacity by 1, your spell recovery bonus by 2 or 5%, and spell casting speed by 2 to 3% depending on where you're at on the relative stat curves. On a very good kit, we like to have 85% cast speed or greater. These gear items available to us have built-in knowledge. I don't have any go-to picks for knowledge because I pretty much use all of them, except maybe the owl pendant, because there's a better pendant that I always choose, which I'll touch on in the next section. They aren't listed in the stat page of your character, but additional and true magical damage are also critical parts of your kit. Every point of true magical damage adds 1 extra damage to your magical attack, no matter what magic resistance the enemy has or what hitbox you hit them in. Every point of additional magical damage also adds 1 extra damage to your magical attack, but it's affected by the enemy's magic resistance and hitbox multipliers. Since it's more consistent, we usually prefer true damage over additional. Any value that additional would have over true would require you to consistently hit headshots, which is unlikely and even impossible for some spells like Zap. The only time I opt for additional damage is for clearing tanky PvE faster, since it's easy to consistently hit headshots, and we use magic missiles for that most of the time, which uses hitbox multipliers. Since magical power bonus and additional/true damage both boost our magical damage output, how do you choose what to prioritize for PvP? Well, the answer is to prioritize getting at least 6 true magical damage, though you can technically get up to 8, and then you can work on your magic power bonus or getting another point of true damage with what gold that you have left. For a spell with 25 base magical damage like the Fireball, 1 extra point of damage is 1/25th, which is equal to 4% extra damage. That means that 4% magic power bonus would be equal to 1 additional magical damage. Now, building 4% magic power bonus only requires 2 magical power, which is usually cheaper on gear than 1 true or additional damage, but the spell that turns the favor toward true and additional is magic missiles. For those that don't know, magic missiles is a rapid volley of 10 individual projectiles with 10 base damage each, and each of them gets their own damage modifiers. That means that having 6 true damage tunes each missile up to 16 damage before other modifiers, which would require 60% magic power bonus to achieve, which would be pretty expensive to build while missing the other benefits of true damage, such as how it cuts straight through magic resistance. If you don't plan on using magic missiles very often, then it would make more sense to focus on your magic power bonus, but as a solo wizard, it is one of the most important spells for quickly melting a W keyer. You can get 1 true magical damage on your headgear, 1 on each ring, 1 on your cape, and then up to 4 on your necklace if you cash out on a legendary Phoenix choker. Generally, we look for it on the headgear, rings, and cape, and then depending on our budget, we get a decent rarity Phoenix choker. All other necklaces can roll 1 true or additional damage as well, but very rarely are the stats on those necklaces worth having the less true damage. The last part of the kit to go over is our weapon. For a caster PvP wizard, we always go with the spellbook since it has the least move speed penalty of all the casting weapons. The magical damage stat that you see on casting weapons increases the base damage of the spell you're casting by that amount, and then the modifiers are applied. That means that at higher magic power bonus levels, a higher rarity spellbook becomes even more potent. And just like that, now you know everything you need to build your very own wizard PvP kit. If you want to see a video of me putting together some kits myself for my specific playstyle, let me know in the comments. I hope you all are having an awesome wipe and are on your way to becoming the wizard of your dreams. Until next time, so long friends.